If you're thinking, being behind bars, keys thrown away, at the mercy of a rabble of babbling Walking Dead lunatics in a freaking madhouse, you're right. So you brave enough to join us broaching the most haunted site in West Virginia?
But I want to bring you back to this gal. So I'll give you the fact that you can see a doctor and nurses and stuff around her. I'll give you that. But how do you get why she's there, i.e., the husband's involvement?
Because her name's Elizabeth, and she told me.
She told you. So you're hearing her talk to you.
Yes.
Oh, far out, Darcy. Okay, you live such an interesting life. Okay.
Welcome to Seeing Dead People, the slow burn storytelling podcast where our host, Nicola, challenges her psychic friend Darcy to communicate with the dead and unravel historical ghost stories, unsolved true crime mysteries, and all things paranormal. If you want to be spooked, amazed, and entertained, stick around for an astonishing, deep dive convo with the spirits on the other side. Radio Sydney presents episode 19, The Haunted Lunatic Asylum.
Hello, Darcy, and season's greetings to you.
Well, hello, Nicola, and season's greeting to you as well. Oh, my God, I sound like I've been already drinking.
Well, it's the holiday season, right? You're allowed. I'm always looking forward to talking to you. That's number one. And number two, I'm always looking forward to how you're going to respond to what I put forward to you. And today is going to be, I think, a little different, so I'm excited about that. There are a lot of terrifying possibilities in life, Darcy, but personally, there's one that seriously puts the frighteners on me. So I'm going to say two simple but chilling words and then ask you what springs to mind. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Lunatic asylum.
One flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Yep.
It's the first one. And the other one is just the idea of being locked up in one.
Yeah.
For me.
Terrifying, huh?
It is.
Well, I say I doubt there's much more petrifying situation for any human being than finding oneself behind bars, the key thrown away, locked up, alongside and at the mercy of a rabble of babbling lunatics in a freaking madhouse. Well, Darcy, that's exactly where we're going to find ourselves today. We're heading south, once again revisiting the fine old state of West Virginia. Now, you may recall, Darcy, we spent a fascinating hour discussing the Greenbrier ghost of Greenbrier County, West Virginia, in our episode 14. In that episode, we examined the 1897 murder investigation, which eventually resulted in an astounding court precedent, the acceptance of a ghost's testimony, which helped convict a cold-blooded killer. Well, today, we're in a similar time frame, scuttling along into Lewis County in the small town of Weston, whose main claims to fame are being the home for two wildly different institutions, the Museum of American Glass and the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Now, you can guess the latter is our focus today, and I think you'll agree with me, Darcy, that it's just its particular name is enough to freeze the blood. What do you think? Any inklings?
Yes, it is enough to freeze the blood. It also sends a shiver down my back. So, and that's just so you know, this is the sort of storyline I thought this was going to be this week.
Okay, tell me, what were you thinking?
Well, I was thinking like maybe old prisons, then like an old prison, then moved into an asylum, into maybe either a university or into a learning center for doctors, let's say, or nurses, and then haunted, obviously.
Obviously.
By the clanking of doors and the moving of trolleys and lights. There's always lights flickering. And the sound, that sound of wind passing through, but it sounds more like someone screaming.
Ah.
That is what I expect today.
Wow. Well, I think you're you're pretty close to what's going on here. This massive institute, with its multiple buildings, is considered to be the most haunted site in West Virginia and one of the most haunted sites in all of America. It's been given multiple names over the decades, including the West Virginia Hospital for the Insane and the Weston State Hospital. But it's now a tourist attraction, known by its original and, as I think, alarming name of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Now, Allegheny is the name of the mountains of the area, but it's just such an odd word, and Trans-Allegheny just, I don't know, for some reason, totally freaks me out. So I think it's a great name for a lunatic asylum. You think so? You agree with me, huh? It is strange. Researching this episode was really challenging, Darcy, because I had too many photographs, nearly 60, which, as you know, isn't the typical case. I found the choice of images really difficult. I kept asking myself, do I see anything in this old black and white shot of a hallway, for example? Of course I didn't. But then I would say to myself, well, would Darcy? And now, you know full well, of course, Darcy, I'd have no idea what you would see, and I plan to explore this issue later as our listeners question. Bottom line, I've got a number of evocative photographs today of the hospital taken at a variety of time frames. They include some good colored pics snapped within the last decade and a number of black and white shots which, unfortunately, aren't the best quality and are undated. I hope, though, Darcy, you'll soon agree that this combination of photos offers intriguing glimpses into this singular institution. So before we venture further into what is truly a madhouse, let's have a look at photo number 1, Darcy, a black and white aerial view of the vast hospital complex. You can see the main building with its cupola and spire, as well as a number of the other large structures nearby, all sprawled out on a large acreage. In fact, quelle surprise, on the devil's symbol of 666 acres. Pretty appropriate number, don't you think, Darcy?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
Do you get anything from photo number 1?
Well, when I first look at it, you wouldn't think that it was an asylum. I would have thought like a presidential residence.
Yeah.
Because of the size of it, or military. I keep hearing military, so there's got to be a connection somewhere
Okay.
to the military or to maybe housing a section for the military, during, well, I think you said it was about 160 years old, so that would take them back to Civil War, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
So, and it's funny because I can actually hear the cannonballs, so that's why, and they specified cannonballs, so that's why I'm thinking Civil War here.
Well, you're absolutely right, Darcy. It was started to be built just before the Civil War. Then it kind of got held up, of course, during the Civil War, and there were Civil War soldiers on the site during and after.
Okay.
So the institution was built in the mid-1800s, makes sense, intended to be self-sufficient, with its own farm, dairy, waterworks, and even cemetery on the grounds. When it finally opened in 1863 and renamed the West Virginia Hospital for the Insane, it was supposed to provide 250 patients with their own rooms, and the institution's healing approach was touted as offering a more humane approach and treatment for the mentally ill, which included lots of light, fresh air, and the freedom to roam. So before we get to any specifics, Darcy, any general ideas as to what might have happened over the last, almost 150 to 160 years?
Okay, so I don't mean to be laughing, but when you said the freedom to roam, all I saw was the clank of doors, the key turned, and the person was left there. I don't see it as freedom to roam. I feel like it's more a prison than it is a hospital.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, the hospital became a victim of its own success. Soon, the complex housed 500, then more than 1,000 patients. As you can guess, conditions were crammed with insufficient light, heat, and food. And by the 1950s, 2,600 patients were jammed inside its 2.5-foot thick walls, 10 times more people than was originally planned for. No wonder some terrible events occurred. Now, the institution finally closed only in 1994 and was left abandoned for a decade until privately purchased and turned into a local attraction. So since 2007, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum has offered guided historical and paranormal tours and evening ghost hunts with many, many reports of new supernatural events. So now we're about to enter under the front arch towards the main hand-cut sandstone Gothic-style building as depicted in our second photo, Darcy. Now,
Okay.
I don't know about you, Darcy, but for me, it's a very imposing entrance. It may be the fact that no one could hear me scream for help through those ridiculously thick walls, or it just might be the snow and winter light, but I feel an icy tingling up my spine. How about you?
Well, I would say that it has a lot to do with the facade of the hospital. When you walk under there, it's like a really creepy show, like a house on the hill, haunted house on the hill sort of feel to it.
Yeah.
Not to mention the vultures.
Vulture?
You know, like I know it doesn't show it in this, but it feels like I can see vultures circling around the hospital.
So are you saying that as a metaphor that there's lots of death as part of this hospital? Or are you saying it that you literally think there would have been vultures circling the hospital?
Both.
Both. Okay. Cool. Well, there are many documented episodes of supernatural activity in this old loony bin. I'm sure you're not surprised. The kinds of psychiatric treatment that was meted out would cause anyone to go insane, Darcy. They included confinement cages and cribs. Yes, there were children there. Insulin coma therapy, bloodletting, ice baths, electroshock therapy, and extensive experimentation in lobotomies. In fact, one famous technique, Darcy, was called the ice pick lobotomy because the doctor hammered through an eye socket into the patient's brain, then wriggled the little thing around, often resulting in a patient permanently brain damaged and reduced to a vegetative state. So, given the amount of paranormal activities cited at this location, Darcy, I've decided to approach this episode a little differently. As you know, on Seeing Dead People, I usually attempt to tell an unsolved supernatural or mystery story using words and photographs. My goal is to do this before you figure out the story. But amazingly, Darcy, you usually preempt me, often nailing my tale's key elements within the first few minutes, then quickly understanding much of the story and its characters. To boot, your modus operandi is to tell me accurate information I've not even shared and often don't even know, that you've somehow gleaned from my words and accompanying photographs. Truly, you have a remarkable ability. So given that, I thought in this episode, if you're game, we'd put your talents to a greater test. From this point forward, we're going to be a little less Nicola and a lot more Darcy. I'm going to set the scene and walk us through the different locations, but I'm asking you, Darcy, to tell us the stories you see and hear in the photographs. Now, there are a few individuals and events who have been regularly seen and heard, so it'll be very interesting if any of them come to you, and of course, I'll let you know. So, Darcy, are you brave or crazy enough to join me in committing ourselves to the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum for the next 50 minutes or so?
I think I am.
Okay. Well, I'm thankful, Darcy, and I was glad you said yes, because I don't want to go through this massive, formidable entrance arch without you. So, over to you. What greets you behind the arch in photo number 2 besides vultures?
Well, the first thing I would say as I walk towards the door, I see flames, okay? So I am seeing flames on, I would like to say, I think it would be considered the first or second floor of the building. So I don't know if I'm ahead of myself on something, but I am smelling smoke as well as seeing flames.
Okay.
There's an older gentleman at the top of the stairs who is dressed like, I would say, like a warden, a doctor, someone who is taking care of the place.
Okay.
Okay, so
We can hear your little cat in the background.
I know, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And I don't know where the name Kindle or Candle or it's a K sound.
Okay.
What this is associated to, whether it's the name of someone, whether it is like you know how when you go in the hospital they have this wing and that wing and this wing.
Yep.
Whether it's something like that.
Okay.
Okay, and there's definitely a connection to the Civil War.
Okay. Okay. Tell me a little bit more about how you're seeing that.
Well, I see as though there may be wounded. You know, like if I've lost my arm and I can't handle it.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like there are wounded men here in this building.
Okay.
I feel too like I see a lady in a dark dress with a little bustle on the back, being pulled up the stairs by two guys in white uniforms.
Okay, so you're seeing what you think is a patient being hauled up the stairs by two orderlies, let's say?
Yes.
Okay, and she's not happy, obviously.
No.
Okay.
Sort of like my cat in the background.
Yeah, it's obviously upsetting your cat. Okay, well, that's interesting. Now let's look at photo number 3, Darcy, which is the men's ward at Weston State. They call it Weston State Hospital. It's the same as the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, same place. What occurs to you when you look at that pretty austere building?
Okay, just 1 second. Let's look at it. Number 3. Wow, it's a little dark and depressing.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of people who jumped off the tower there,
And
right out front.
you say that because you can see them jumping?
You feel like the body's falling, yep.
Wow. Okay, there were certainly suicides.
Yeah, and not just one or two, there were quite a few.
Okay.
And I know they said that there's a cemetery here, but I'm not 100% sure they always use the cemetery to bury people in. I sort of feel like they went out back and there's like some trees in place. And I'm not seeing, you know how you see a cemetery where it would have the wire fence about that time frame?
Yep.
And there's children buried out here too. So it's not just adults who died.
Right. Well, I don't know that the cemetery necessarily was a, official looking cemetery. It might have been, a little less official and therefore possibly a spot, in the back, so to speak. I don't know. There's not a lot of detail on that.
Okay.
All right, then we're going to take a deep breath, Darcy. We're going to go inside this asylum for the insane and stop immediately to stare at photo number 4, the gorgeous main hallway.
It is beautiful,
Isn't it beautiful?
Like a grand foyer to anywhere. Like, you would never guess that this was a hospital.
Right,
When you're sitting here.
or a lunatic asylum.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got it must be bigger than a football field. This long, long corridor. It looks just glorious.
Yeah, it
What?
does.
My question is,
And
though, do you feel welcome here?
Well, strangely enough, I do feel welcomed here.
Oh,
But it's just if I stand still, I feel welcome. Okay? There is this image on the floor that makes me feel like someone died there.
okay.
And it feels male. It doesn't feel female. And again, I keep feeling like there was a fire of some sort.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well, then let's check in with the head honcho in photograph number 5, which is kind of a sepia shot. This, Darcy, is the superintendent's office. Can you tell us
Okay.
about anybody who sat behind that bulky desk?
Looks like an older gentleman, balding hair, very dictatorial, disciplined. He may have been in the army at one time because he just has that feel to him.
Okay.
And like, I think he thought he was being fair, but it's interesting because I do have people standing close to the window, a male and a lady, a man and a lady,
Yeah.
and I see them standing close to the window as though looking out, discussing. So were there nurses, like female nurses?
Absolutely, and we'll be getting to them very shortly.
Okay, because I sort of feel like there's a female nurse, she's probably in her early 20s, very upset about something. Can I ask, do you know whether or not they segregated, like, only female nurses in the female section, male in the male?
Well, I believe they had segregated wards, yes, and probably segregated staff.
Okay, because this lady's talking about abuse in the female section.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, and
Okay.
again, there's something else here. Were there two people in this office, to your knowledge?
Well, I think over the years, Darcy, there would have been many superintendents or individuals running this organization from this office, I believe.
It's definitely being run by like a prison more than it is a hospital setting.
Okay.
So,
Okay, well then let's meet some of these key people. We have some key women in photo number 6, a whole group of nursing sisters. I can't tell you the year this was taken, unfortunately, but have a look there and tell me. We see a lot of, there must be 25 nurses there, but are there any nurses that you recognize from the photo before, or any nurses that pop up to you that don't pop up to me?
the matron at the back,
Yeah.
she stands out. And two of the ladies in the front stand out, and then the lady on, if I'm looking at the picture, she's on my right at the back.
Okay, when you say they stand out, are you talking this 3D thing?
Yes, they stand out like they're more prominent than the other nurses. The other nurses just came in and did their job. These ones either experienced something, had a feeling of, I didn't think one of them died there. Okay, now I've got to rethink that for a minute.
Okay.
Because I sort of want to say there might have been a nurse that died at the hospital.
Okay.
Okay. But the matron at the back, the one wearing the watch on her chest, she stands out as being the most forceful, disciplined.
Okay.
I don't know any other way to put it.
Okay. So when you look at other photographs, Darcy, you've said you can tell when someone is dead or not because they're a 3D. Their image looks like 3D-ish to you. In this circumstance, you're seeing a lot of people, and they must all be dead because this is definitely a photo from quite a number of years ago. And yet you're getting only a few that really stand out.
Yes. There are only a few that stand out, so they had some sort of significant role inside of the hospital.
Okay. Cool.
And
all right.
it could have been something that happened to them. It could have been just the position they were in at the time, or some sort of complaint that they would have made. But there's definitely something that stands out with them.
Okay, and the gal who was in the superintendent's office worrying about abuse, you don't get a sense that she's from one of these nurses?
Oh, yeah, she would be the one on my right at the back, the younger lady.
So which specific person? We're talking front row, back, middle row, back row?
Back row,
Okay.
to my right, on the edge.
So the last...
When I say my right, the one I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Above the 6, the number 6.
Okay, I got it. So she's the back row woman.
Back.
Okay, and you think she's the one who was worrying about abuse happening?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, that's nifty. Okay, so then let's move on to the next one. We're going to look at a modern day shot, photo number 7, of the nurses' station. It's obviously in disrepair. Can you catch any dead nurses skulking about?
This lady with dark hair, she's got a longer nose. I'm seeing a profile of her. And I feel like I'm going around, even though the cupboard doors are open, I feel like I'm organizing whatever is in the cupboards.
Okay, so she's going about her duties.
Yes.
Oh, cool. All right. In the next photograph, number 8, we've got a modern snapshot of what was a nurse's room. You'll see it's pretty cell-like and pretty Spartan. It boasts a decent-sized window, Darcy, but only really room enough for a cot bed and a dresser. So anybody speaking to you from this yellow peeling little hole in the wall?
Well, I'd like to say there's a lady by the name of Margaret there.
Okay.
Okay, Margaret Mary is like that. The room may be very small and could only contain a little bit, but this wasn't like a room they stayed in, was it?
When you say they, who do you mean?
Like nurses took their rotation and stayed in this room?
I believe it was called a nurse's room, so I believe this is not a cell, so to speak. It is a place where a nurse would stay.
Yeah, there was a lot of praying done in this room.
Why do you know that?
I just feel like I'm pulling the Bible out and I'm asking the Lord to help me, to get me through the shift, to help those who are ill. I feel like there's a lot of praying.
Oh, okay. That would be an indication of a lot of trauma or difficulty.
Yes.
Okay. Well, now, Darcy, we're going to move into the world of the patients. In the next 2 photos, 9 and 10, they're black and white shots of a pair of dormitories. Now, I can't imagine sleeping in those close quarters, Darcy. So what bedtime stories can you reveal to us?
Ooh, well, some guy in 9 was held down and murdered in his bed.
Wait. Give us more detail on that.
Okay. There's a gentleman. He's laying in his bed. I don't know if he's making noises or whether someone just doesn't like him. I see 2 men coming over, pillow over the face. I also feel a sharp jabbing pain, so it makes me wonder whether or not he had also been stabbed. And that feels like that's, okay, it does say male dorm. So that's what I feel like happened in this room.
What bed are you seeing this happening in?
Well, the second bed down from where number 9 is.
Okay.
Okay. The second bed down, and I think it's over 1.
Okay, so in towards the right?
Yes.
Okay, so the one that we can sort of see half of the bed kind of thing?
Yeah, I think that's the one I'm after.
Oh, wow. Ooh, okay. Poor guy. All right, that's cool. Anything you see in the next scene, which is number 10, a dorm. I don't know if this is female or male. You might be able to tell me.
I'm sort of feeling it's female because of the way the bed's laid.
Yeah, me too.
And I feel like there was a lady in here who was pregnant.
Ooh.
And either lost her child or was told that she lost her child.
Now, she was
the truth of the matter is she didn't.
She was a patient?
Yep, she was a patient, you know. The husband thought he didn't think it was his. Put her in the hospital.
Now, how do you get to that? I'm looking at this image. It's a bunch of beds in rows. How do you get to that sense of not only is a woman there, a woman who's pregnant, who's either going to lose her baby, and you know that her husband put her in there because he doesn't trust who the father of the baby is? How do you get there?
Because it's like an image overlays on top of it. And I can see the people standing around the bed. So if you go where the number 10 is,
yeah,
and you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 beds.
So
there's people standing around that bed.
So way in the back almost.
Yeah.
You're seeing people standing over the bed.
Yeah, I've got 3 nurses, a doctor, an orderly, and I can hear all the noise of all the people who are in the room, you know, the moans, the cries. Some people are tied to the bed.
Oh,
Oh, this brings me back to the fire, because either people were packed in so tight and couldn't get out, or some people were locked in and couldn't get out during a fire here.
okay. Well, that's really interesting because I have no evidence. I'm sure there must have been in 150 years, no evidence of a serious fire. So
I am picking something up about a fire, so
Yeah.
it would be interesting if one of our listeners can do a little digging and find out if there was a fire in this building.
yeah, I'd like to find that out because it's something you picked up on immediately, practically, and are continuing to pick up on. But I want to bring you back to this gal. So I'll give you the fact that you can see a doctor and nurses and stuff around her. I'll give you that. But how do you get why she's there, i.e., the husband's involvement?
Because her name's Elizabeth, and she told me.
She told you. So you're hearing her talk to you.
Yes.
Oh, far out, Darcy. Okay, you live such an interesting life. Okay, photo number 11. We're going to see the asylum in action, so to speak. In photo 11, what we have here is a cozy black and white snap of nurses and it looks like female patients in Ward B. So surprisingly, life doesn't look too bad in this scene. Darcy, what do you think?
No, it looks normal. It looks like they've got the people who aren't as difficult to wrangle.
Right?
I find the lady sitting at the piano interesting.
She's got an interesting, very taut stance, doesn't she? She's very prim and proper and upright in her sitting.
Yeah, and it almost makes me feel like, is she actually a patient or a nurse?
I don't know. I'm just zooming in, trying to see. It looks to me like she's almost bald.
Yeah.
I wonder even if she's a female, because I don't know. It looks got a sense possibly of a man, but whether she's a patient or not is a good question. I don't know. Based on the fact she's not wearing a nurse's uniform, my presumption is she would be a patient.
Yeah, she doesn't have the little crown on her head that would say nurse.
Exactly.
But interesting enough, the lady right across from her,
Okay.
right in where number 11 is, in that wicker chair,
Yep.
I'm sort of wondering if they're related.
Oh, really? Now
Yeah,
how?
there's some sort of connection.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe it's just the fact they look alike.
They do kind of look alike, don't they? They have kind of sharp features.
Yeah.
Yeah, the nose and the sort of forehead. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that's 11. Let's go to photo number 12, which is a good example, Darcy, of my struggle to choose a photograph for you. It's an old photograph of a shot of a grand-looking but empty hallway. So to me, it's architecturally very fine, but as to offering paranormal insights, I've got no idea. So does photo 12 do anything for you?
Yes, right at the end of the hall.
Okay.
It's like there's 2 people standing there, and you can see just how badly there was a lack of food. Like, you can literally see the structure of their ribs off their spine. Okay, so I can actually see just how bad. One was in one of those push chairs, not a wheelchair like we know it.
Okay.
The kind that looks more like a rocker.
Yep.
Okay, and the other one is standing up. But as for the rest of it, there's just that really weird feeling, you know, the creepy feeling up your neck
Yeah.
in this.
And when you say you can see that they're starving, are you seeing through clothing? Are they naked? How are you getting there?
No, I'm seeing through clothing.
Through clothing. Okay, that they're starving.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess it's not surprising based on the numbers that they jammed into this place. My God.
No kidding.
Yeah. Well, Darcy, we know we're all happy if we're happy in our food. So at least that works for me. So let's have a gander at the next pair of black and white pics, which is photos 13 and 14, to see 2 dining rooms. Again, to me, Darcy, we have empty rooms. But the big question is, what are they to you?
Well, there's definitely not the idea that they're getting the kind of milk they should. I would tell you that it's more likely like gruel or runny porridge.
Yep.
I don't even see, like, if they were getting tea, that bag must have been in one big pot and diluted so much that there isn't any tea. I don't smell coffee or anything. And interesting enough, I can't actually place people in the seat.
Oh.
I'd like to, but when I look at it, it just feels very cold. No welcome or anything to this place.
In both photographs?
In both photographs.
Wow.
Now, 14, I would tell you, maybe is more like the nurse's lounge
Yeah, I think so.
than it is. The top 13 is definitely patient.
Yeah, it's very Spartan, isn't it? Nothing very fancy on the tables. The chairs don't look very
14
comfortable.
would be more like, even though it says patient's dining room on it, there's no way this was a patient's dining room. Not unless, nope. This is more like the head of the faculty plus the staff.
Yeah, well, it has linen tablecloths on it. It has, it looks to me much more sophisticated dining experience, shall we say, than the other one. Yeah. Okay. Well, in next photo number 15, Darcy, we enter the female ward. It's a pretty murky picture, so I apologize for that. I don't know if you can get anything out of that photograph, but given that I knew it was the female ward, I thought I'd ask.
Well, I feel a lot of, that despair that goes when you're depressed.
Yep.
That it doesn't strike me as a place that you're going to come out of, that you're going to recuperate from. Strangely enough, I see a lot of nuns walking around the ward. So I don't know if there was a nunnery close by and they used to come and try to counsel the women.
Wow.
Okay.
That's an interesting point. I don't know anything about nuns, but that's an interesting point.
Yeah, the black habit.
Sure.
That is what I'm seeing.
Well, that's certainly, I would say certainly possible in those days. And any day you'd have the religious individuals coming in to try to help out with the needy.
Yeah. I don't see the priests as much as I am seeing nuns.
Yeah, well, I don't think they did that much on the old outreach to the community business. Okay, well, I'm kind of...
But then again, this institution brought a lot of business during wars and depression.
Yep.
You would think that they would be wanting to do the outreach and help people and maybe find positions for them in the community where they could work and help earn a living for the institution.
Yeah, you'd hope that, but I don't think it came to that.
Okay.
Well, I'm kind of excited to show you number 16, Darcy, because it's in color, a recent photograph of this ward. It's the ward for violent women. And I figured if any image revealed emotional turbulence, this would be it. Am I right?
It would be. Oh, let's see. Definitely takes your breath away. It's like I expect the doors to bang shut, even though this is a photo. I expect the doors to bang shut.
Wow. Okay.
Like with anger and frustration. I keep wanting to say that this wasn't just about angry women. This was women that were in a position of life that they considered unfit to be on. Oh, so they did round up women and throw them in here.
And why do you say that?
Well, because just the way some of these ladies look, I don't actually think they're a threat to society. I think they were prostitutes.
And when you say some of these ladies, how many ladies are you seeing and where are you actually seeing them in the photograph?
Okay, I've got, if in the blue room to the left, I have about 4 women standing there. I have, if you go straight down the hall near the light, I've got 2 ladies there.
Okay.
I have at least one lady on the right-hand side, and the other two doors I can't see, but I do feel like there was women in those other rooms as well.
Okay.
I also want to say I sort of feel like there might have been a riot, a fight. Not just the kind of fight where, you're doing pulling the hair stuff. I think that there's a lady here who got killed.
In this ward?
In this ward, not just the male ward, because I do know someone died in the male ward by either suffocation or a beating of some sort. But in this one, I also feel like, and here's the thing, I don't know if it's the nurse that I said went missing.
Yep.
The one who died.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it happened here or it's just that the residue of the violence is there.
Okay. Let's just tag back to that nurse. You said two things there. You said she died, and then she said went missing.
Yeah, because that's why she stood out a little bit in the picture, is because there's something about her soul not quite sound.
Okay. Oh, cool.
I'm pretty sure they did find her, but I sort of feel like whatever it happened either, I know it happened in the building, but part of me wants to say it happened in this ward.
Okay, well, there is a very well documented event that there was a nurse murdered, and the poor thing was left to rot for 2 months at the bottom of a little used staircase in this massive complex.
Oh, wow.
So it could be your gal from the photograph.
Could be.
Yeah. Yikes. Okay. Well, let's look at photo number 17. It's kind of a restricted shot. It's a weird shot of a cage door, obviously of a cell. I wondered if it would reveal anything to you.
I don't think I'd want to be on the other side with other people. It just reconfirms everything I said at the very beginning, that this isn't a hospital, this is a prison.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're packed in here. I don't feel like it's the hygiene alone, the smell alone, it's revolting.
Yeah, it must be. Well, and I want to, just before I forget, I want to bring it back to that photo of the violent ward number 16. You mentioned you were able to see a number of women. What I want to ask you is, are you seeing these women during the same time frame, or are you actually seeing different time frames of women?
Ooh, good question. Because I would almost say that it could be different time frames given the closing, because this went up to what, 1950?
Well, it didn't close till 1994.
1994, so yeah, because there are a few women in here that I would say would be wearing that, that skirt with the ruffles under it.
Yep.
So the 1950, the petticoat one. So yeah, I would say that what I'm seeing is different time frames, but I wasn't even thinking of it like that. I was thinking of just the women.
Okay, yeah, that's just, to me, just fascinating, because we have 150, 60 years worth of time that's happened within this institution, and obviously thousands of individuals who've been through it. And I wonder, when you see a number of people, are you seeing some from 1885 and some from 1912 and some from 1951?
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay.
And I would say even maybe a couple from 1975.
Really? That recent?
Yep.
Based on the clothes?
Based on the clothes.
Oh, that's so neat. Okay. Well, let's move to photo number 18, which purports to be a telephone room. Hard to say. It's empty space, peeling walls. But I thought, hey ho, what can you drop in on any phone calls?
More like the phone calls I'm hearing about telling of people who have passed. I'm not really picking up people. Like when you're an inmate, you're allowed to make a call.
Right.
With this, there's totally restriction on who's allowed to talk on this phone.
Okay, so it's not an inmate or patient's phone.
No.
More like the head nurse or something.
Yeah, and I would say maybe they build it as such. Yeah, you can phone home, but I'm not feeling that those opportunities are far and few between.
Okay. Sounds like a real horror show, this place. Okay, let's go to photo number 19, which takes us inside of a bedroom, probably again of a nurse. Very much like that what we showed you in photo number 8. Now this has a spectacular window, but offers no more room or creature comforts than the other one. Any nursing staff hanging about that you can see?
No, but I feel a lot of mixed company in this room.
Oh, really?
But interesting enough, the bracket on the wall
Yes.
definitely makes me think that someone died. Now, again, the bracket is just representing something about this hospital itself. You know what's interesting? This was billed as a hotel retreat. Those retreats where you go nowadays to replenish your soul.
Yep.
That is how I actually see this billed as.
Okay. Well, I think it went through a lot of iterations as a institution, so it could well have been kind of that at one point in time a spa kind of resort idea.
Okay. But boy, were they lacking in the proper description. What I really feel about this room is just the desolation of knowing that you can't help everyone, so you try to help who you can.
Okay.
And the bigger the pocket, the better the help.
Explain that a bit.
Well, if I sent you from a rich family and I could pay for it, the bigger the pocket, the richer the help.
Oh, I see what you mean. So if I'm a patient from a rich family, I got treated better.
Yes.
Ah, that's an interesting expression. The bigger the pocket, the better the help. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up is a day room in photo number 20, which depicts a wide, cheery-looking yellow space with lovely bay windows. Could have been a very pleasant spot to kill a little time with. Do you think, Sunny? Darcy, on a sunny day?
I think it could have been at one point, and on top of it, I think we had little entertainments going on, like some dance classes, some movement classes in this one. It looks so desolate now. I mean, it's like, oh my God, the poor room.
Yeah.
This would be a great place to do up at the hotel and feature each room as some sort of metaphysical event that could happen in it.
Such as?
Bumps in the night, doors squeaking, lights going on.
You're hearing that? Seeing that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I would agree with you. But as I said at the beginning, it is a tourist destination, although I don't know how much money they have to expand throughout the entire institution based on the photographs that we have of taken by somebody who's been there in the last decade. Obviously, only part of the institution is available, and only maybe part of it is have even brought back to any kind of safe state.
So was floor number 4 the one they film the most, like they do the tour on?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Try again.
Okay, floor number 4.
Oh, floor number 4. Okay.
Yeah. Is it the one where they say there's a lot more activity?
Yes.
Okay. Is this the children's ward?
Oh, wow. Well, look at the next image there, Darcy, number 21.
Okay.
Now, this is the children's room. I'm not sure if it's actually on the 4th floor. However, I can tell you that the 4th floor itself has a history of one of the most famous ghosts and spiritual occurrences in this institution, and it's of a child. So tell me what you're feeling.
Well, I feel, do you know if it's a little boy?
It's not.
It's
Well,
not, it is a girl.
I mean, there might be a little boy, but the one that I know of is not a little boy. It's a little girl.
Okay. In this room, there's a little boy, and I feel like he's playing with a ball, and he's rolling it, and it's coming back to him, but I don't see who's rolling it back.
Okay.
These are children that were not wanted. They're children that couldn't find housing, or had a form of deformity around them that people didn't want to see.
Oh. Well, some of the children, Darcy, were brought in when their mothers were brought in.
Yeah.
And so they were committed, per se, along with their mother for some of them, their entire lives. Hopefully most of them till their adult lives. But imagine just because a mother is brought in, the children are thrown in as well.
Yeah, because the father doesn't want to deal with them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And a lot of these children have become so hospitalized that they'll never function in the outside world.
Exactly. How could you if you were literally properly almost born and bred in an institution? That's your only sphere of life. You have no other reference points.
Do you know anything about a bicycle going up and down the halls?
No, but I know when you say that, tell me how you're determining it's a bicycle. What's happening?
Well, I'm not sure if it's bicycle, but when you hear a wheel,
yep,
creak, that's what I'm hearing.
Okay, that's definitely, yes, that's definitely one of the more common sound events is a squeaky wheel along the tile floors.
But at this point, I don't actually think it is like a trolley. This is either, in my head, I saw one of those old buggies, the children's buggies.
Yes.
That is what I'm actually seeing. I'm seeing a nurse, white uniform, white head cap on, with the white shoes, and she's pushing this buggy down the hall.
Okay, and so is that nurse then haunting this place?
Well, I think her job is to look after the children, and I don't think she's ever really let go.
Oh, so she's still doing it.
The answer to you is yes. She is haunting the place.
Okay, well, that I don't know about. The little boy I don't know about, but that's interesting. There is supposedly a little girl called Lily, and she was on the 4th floor, and she is very well often seen, supposedly wearing a white dress. She could be her own self a patient, or she could have been born to a patient. They don't seem to know. Sadly, she died at 9 of pneumonia. So she talks, she rolls balls, she plays a music box, she giggles. She's one of the more common events seen and heard.
Oh, okay. Maybe she's the one playing ball with the little boy. So you don't have a picture of her, do you?
No, nothing.
So no idea that she's sort of blonde with the curls and...
No, I've got nothing other than her name was, they think her name was Lily. So you're seeing with the little boy a little girl?
Well, I don't actually see the little girl. I see the ball rolling back, and I know there's a hand there.
Oh, so
I don't think they're related. I'm not feeling that this is her brother.
So you're thinking you're not quite seeing Lily, but she's just outside the view.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, could well be. Alrighty. Well, then now the next trio of photographs, which are 22, 23, and 24, are depicting a bathroom, a shower room, and another sort of cell-like bedroom. They all give me the heebie-friggin' jeebies, Darcy. How about you?
It makes me want to throw up. So just imagine you're misbehaving, they fill the tub full of ice water, and you get dunked in it head first. The shower room.
Yep.
I don't think I'd ever want to be in the shower room, to be honest.
Can you imagine? Oh, no.
The horrors that went on in there, no.
Okay.
I almost want to say, like, if I had a high-pressure hose, I'd be hosing the people in this room for some strange reason.
Is that the way they would give them a shower, do you think?
It felt like it.
Oh, my God. And back to your ice bath, that's, exactly one of the treatments they used in the past on people. So you can actually sort of see that, feel that, what?
Yeah, I can see it and feel it. It's like looking outside at the snow and thinking, okay, let's go do the polar bear dip. Yeah, not going to happen.
Not for me, that's for sure. And how about the last one, number 24 of the three? It's a cell or bedroom.
Yeah, it just makes me nauseous. Makes me feel like so much bad happened there that, like literally I would say canes, belts, electro treatments,
Yep.
the works.
Well, have a look up high. You'll see a pipe running the length of the sort of near the roof. It's thought that pipe was used often to assist in suicides.
I can believe that.
Yeah, me too. I think I would do it too if you had to be stuck in that place. Okay, now we're going to slip down the stairs and enter the basement. So we're going to have a look at photo number 25, which is part of the kitchen. So we see some staff. We see a plethora of pots and milk jugs and extra jumbo vats. So anything cooking here, Darcy?
Are you sure it's just the kitchen and not a laundry room too?
Well, that's what you're thinking of the things on the right-hand side?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they the big laundry vats? They could well be. It's considered the staff kitchen. That's all I can tell you. But I looked at them. I thought they looked to me like those old-fashioned
Laundry.
drum roller sort of washing machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, could well be.
This just looks like people who are overworked and underpaid.
Well, that's something I see. Okay, we agree on something.
You know what's really weird? I swear the one guy's got his arm up, but when I look at the picture, it doesn't look like an arm.
Which is your one guy? Oh yeah, I see what you mean. I know the closest one on the far right.
Yeah.
It must be some kind of weird shadow behind them because I don't think that's their arm. But he does look like he almost has a wing in behind his shoulders.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right, because that is, maybe there is an angel down there looking after people.
Well, they needed more than one based on this. Man. Okay. Now we're going to venture down another long corridor of rooms shown in photo number 26. This hallway's definitely seen better days and to me is creepy. It appears empty of there's one lone wheelchair there. Anybody popping out behind the wooden doors, Darcy?
Well, there's a lot of noise and banging and screaming going on in this one. There's a man who must have been in here at one point that probably stabbed a few people. Another one who shot people. This is the photo that made me think we were going down the asylum tunnel this week.
Oh.
Because I think this is the one you sent to me without any words on it. You just said, would this work? And I literally felt like I was peeking out one of those doors saying, can anyone see me? Because if they can't, I'm out of here.
You're right. Wow, that's pretty good of you.
So when I look at this, I feel like if I had had the opportunity, I would have ran as fast as possible.
Yeah.
To get out of here. And again, I sort of feel like these are treatment rooms.
Okay.
Not just rooms that they lock people into. I also think some of these rooms were treatment rooms.
Okay. Well, when you started to talk about this photograph, you mentioned a guy who stabbed people and another guy who shot people. Can you elaborate a little bit on those two guys?
One of them, I think, has a J sound to his name, and I don't want to just use John because I don't think it was like that. Might have been part of his name, but not what I'm looking for.
Okay.
He reminds me of a farmer. Okay. The bill cap, overalls with the suspenders, the boots, the shirt with the cotton shirt. So this would be about 1935, 40.
Okay.
Somewhere in there. And it just looks like he cracked. So this would be probably around the Depression.
Oh, okay.
All right. Did they throw people in here who couldn't pay their bills?
Well, I don't know, but it's, it would be a perfect opportunity to get rid of a lot of people, shut them down into this place, especially when they jammed in thousands of them instead of 250. So, I think it would be a spot if anybody caused any trouble in the community. I think they'd be whipped down here so fast it'd make their head spin.
Yeah.
And how
They wouldn't even need a reason really to do it.
No, I wouldn't. In those, and especially during the late 1800s and early 1900s, you wouldn't need anything. I presume you might need a little bit more information, something more critically medical later on. But geez, for many decades, must have been just a place to dump people you wanted to be out of society.
Well, in England, I don't know if it happened in the U.S. as well, but in England during that time frame, the 1700s into the 1900s, it was considered an immoral act to be a prostitute.
Right.
So they would literally pull the prostitutes off the street and throw them in here.
Yeah.
No trial or jury or anything. That is exactly where they put them.
My God, isn't that horrendous?
Yeah.
And are you seeing a number of prostitutes here? Not necessarily in this photograph, but in this discussion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. So 27 is about the same, just so you know. So there's really, there may have been a few deaths on this floor, but I think it still carries through about the idea of treatment and stuff like that.
Yep. Well, I put it in because I thought it was kind of fun to give you two almost identical looking sort of photographs to see how much you would gain from them.
Places, aren't they?
Sorry?
Aren't they different places?
Yes, they are, absolutely. But from my perspective, they looked somewhat similar. In other words, a long hallway, nothing happening. What would you tell between the two different, the different two pictures, what you might get from them?
Well, one feels American and one feels almost British. And they both have that same feeling of the slamming of the doors, the key, the rattle, the screams, that type of thing.
Okay. Well, they're both of Trans-Allegheny Asylum, but one I think is the number 26, of course, is deep in the bowels of the basement.
Oh, wow.
And the other one is, I think, maybe not quite in above the basement because it doesn't look very fancy either.
So was it the British guy who built the place?
Well, the building of it was done over many years, so the individual building, I don't really know, but it was an American psychiatrist named Kirkbride who was wanting to build a facility that was his idea, this was in the 1860s, of having a more humane approach to people who were having mental illness.
Boy, did it ever go wrong.
I think probably after the first week it probably went wrong. Really, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, getting near to the end, so let's look at number 28, which is a sub-basement corridor. I thought the others were pretty stark and uninviting, but even to me, this is like a gloomy, terrifying space, Darcy.
Well, this is where they also disposed of if you gave birth to a child inside, because you were considered immoral. They felt that the child would be immoral too.
Yeah.
So therefore, they would just take the child downstairs and allow it to die.
God, you really think you feel that?
Yeah.
Jeez, that's horrendous.
And this was a place where, if they could hide a sin, this is going to be where they'd hide it until they could remove it.
Wow. Now, are you getting a feeling of that? Are you seeing images of that?
It's a little of both, the feeling that's coming off the picture, but the other part is that one wall there, I swear it just looks like people are, and like I would say this is a 1-by-1 cell, like 1 foot by 1 foot, maybe 2 by 2, but not very big, where if you're going to lay down, you're going to have to curl up to be able to lay down.
Really?
Yeah.
And
this is where we put the worst of the worst because they're out of sight.
Yeah, and we just shut them down and ignore them?
Yeah.
Jeez. Man, talk about humane treatment. Okay, well, enough of this dark, dank, and dingy hallways, Darcy. Before we leave this paranormal super spreader, let's get outside into the light. So exhale deeply and enjoy a quick trip to the horse barn in photo 29. Now, this is where I'd be hanging out, Darcy, if I were stuck in this place. To spend time in and about this barn, would be heaven. I'd welcome shoveling stinky manure and stacking prickly hay, because I'd be blessed by hearing the horses' whinnies and embracing the finger-squeezing rhythms of twice-daily cow milking, hearing the great beasts' soft hoof beats and feel their soft muzzles. That would sure beat lagging about in a day room. But, of course, not everything that goes on in a barn is sweetness and light, is it, Darcy?
No, it's not, because there's a few hangings inside this barn.
Are there? I wondered about that.
But I'd like them to note that when they call it the horse barn, they should have thought about the cow in the picture.
Yeah, I know. There might actually be a cow barn as well. I don't know. Because there it is. There's that big cow just sitting there, as part of the image, yes.
They must have needed, because when I look at these men, they are not wards of the state. These are people that work there.
Yeah, I believe so.
They must have had quite the staff.
Yeah, well, it was once we got going with the hundreds and hundreds of people, they must have had to have hundreds of staff, and in order to be their own supplier of, food, dairy, and meat, they would have to have a lot of people handling the horses and the farm and, all that kind of stuff. The milking, although I'm sure they got some inmates involved, but maybe not very many.
But then when I think of everything we've gone through, what I can't help but think is they were short-staffed on the inside. That's why they had to stockpile the inmates.
Yeah. Well, you know how they never have enough staff, right?
Yeah.
That's the way it always goes. Okay, well, we're now at the end, thank God, of our committal to the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. But before we flee the property, I thought an exterior view of the main building showcasing its cute summer house might lift your spirits. It appears in our last pick, photo number 30, Darcy, where it seems a few inmates are enjoying the fresh air, and who can blame them? Catch anything from that?
Well, I would say that, it's very cute. Maybe at the beginning when people first came there, they got to walk around and enjoy that. But I'm really not feeling, unless you were escorted out by a nurse, that you were going out to that place on your own.
Right. So it sounds like this whole institution went from a great idea and very quickly spiraled into a horror show.
It did.
Wow. Okay, well, let's go over quickly the ghosts that you've come up with, or the spirits or events, and what they've been seen by others. So you right away knew there were, of course, many suicides. You knew that a nurse was murdered and disappeared, so I can presume that's kind of the left to rot, poor gal. You knew about the patient being murdered by roommates. That's well known and thought of. You knew, of course, Civil War soldiers right from the start. They were actually stationed on the grounds before the construction and during, so you got that right away. Of course, the squeaky wheels, you had that, and you talked about moving objects. There's also laughter, and banging pipes are pretty common. There's supposedly a first-floor ghost named Ruth who hates men and throws things. Okay. There's also a big gym ghost who haunts a third floor along with a nurse called Elizabeth. And you mentioned the word Elizabeth, but I don't know that it was for a nurse.
But that's okay, because the J, remember I said I don't want to say John, but it's the J sound?
Yep.
And Elizabeth, I wasn't sure if she was a patient or a nurse.
Or a nurse, yeah. You're right, so that's pretty good.
I thought she was the lady who gave birth. I wonder if the lady who gave birth was Lily's mom.
I don't know, but we presume that Lily is there because her mother is there.
Okay. So, all right. And I've also said that I think there's been a fire in this place.
Yeah, and that I got to look into because there's absolutely nothing that I've come across that mentions a fire. There's a couple others that you didn't encounter, shall we say, today. There's supposedly a grayish female figure seen in the kitchen.
The lady who screams?
Sorry?
Is it the lady who screams?
They don't talk about screaming. You're hearing somebody who's screaming in the kitchen?
Yeah, lady.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't hear about that one. Okay, good. There's also 2 teenage boys from the 40s.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see them.
Okay. And a soldier from the late 1890s named supposedly Jacob. So there's another J for you.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's another Jay.
Did you know Jacob had lost an arm?
I don't know, but he was an alcoholic. That's all I can say.
Okay.
Okay, and then there was a Jesse, another Jay, who died of a heart attack in the bathtub, possibly, I'm just putting this in, possibly as a result of the ice dump.
Yeah, I'd say there's a good possibility there.
So I think you did pretty well, Darcy. Thanks.
All right.
So,
just out of curiosity,
yep.
do you know if there is, a man, not in the kitchen, but, a Brian Brett, if there's a ghost there too with that name?
I don't know of that, but there may well be.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Okay.
I would say that there's a possibility with him that he committed suicide.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure, as you had said, there's probably quite a few unfortunate suicides happening because you saw them in a number of places.
Yeah.
God.
Well, they used to use what now has become the electrical chair.
Yep.
Where they would sit people in it, restrain them, and probably use shock therapy that way. I think that's how the electrical chair came into being. I'm probably wrong.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks, Darcy. That was quite the spooky visit to this really, really strange place called the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Yeah.
Good old West Virginia. It's got a lot of hauntings going on there.
No kidding. I tell you, there's another place I wouldn't mind going to.
Yeah.
If someone comes with me.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I wasn't going to go under those arches into that building without you. Okay, thanks.
If you enjoyed our spooky West Virginia episode, you're going to be thrilled by this state's famous Greenbrier ghost, who we meet in episode 14. Trust me, you don't want to miss experiencing the only incident where a supernatural presence assisted in solving the crime, a first-degree murder. Check out The Greenbrier Ghost Speaks, Seeing Dead People, episode 14. Thank you for listening to Seeing Dead People, where goosebumps are guaranteed. We would love to hear from you with questions for Darcy about her psychic process or suggestions for other mystifying situations you would like us to investigate. Please shoot us an email to info@radiosydney.ca with Seeing Dead People in the subject line. New episodes air on our website, radiosydney.ca, on the first Saturday of every month. Episodes repeat Saturday nights at 8 p.m. and Sunday mornings at 10 a.m., both Pacific time. All episodes are available as downloadable podcasts at our website or on our YouTube channel, Nicola Furlong Mysteries. I'm Dorian Mortis, weirdly keen on seeing dead people.
This has been a program of Radio Sydney.